joined now by food editor Nicole Perry, who is showing us how to whip up a spin on the classic 7-layer dip that uses Mediterranean ingredients.
Exactly. So right here we have this, it's hummus, pesto-based, a bunch of other Mediterranean fresh summery type ingredients. And it's great for backyard barbecues. It's a little bit lighter than the traditional 7-layer dip, which is really nice. I know we're all looking to eat probably a little healthier right now. And it's even can be set out for a couple hours at room temperature without worrying about it too much, since it's not super dairy based, which I think is really great when you're entertaining.
I love this idea of not having the super heavy version that we all kind of feel guilty about digging into. So what ingredients do we need to put this together?
Okay, so right here you can see I already spread some hummus on this platter, and then on top of that we're going to put some pesto. You can use, we have a cilantro pesto that goes in this, but you can use a traditional basil based one if you prefer. We also have some red onion, cucumber, pepperoncini, toasted pine nuts, sun-dried tomatoes, feta, and last but not least, a little olive oil.
You gotta have the olive oil.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the hummus already spread out. How thick do you want to do the layer?
I ended up using about 1 tub's worth. It's, it's about a 1/4 inch thick. I used a pretty big platter because in this case, unlike, a traditional 7-layer dip, it's not really about the layers of kind of spreadable dip part. It's more about the toppings. So I like to be able to see it all and have it all spread out instead of usually, how you'd see kind of the striated layers. So it's pretty thin.
All right, well let's get to assembling.
Yeah, so right here I have an offset spatula which I'm going to use to spread this pesto around.
So is this offset spatula like the secret weapon?
Exactly. It's just a little bit easier to work with than if you had, say, like a butter knife. You see here, it puts your hand at a little bit less weird of an angle. And you also notice that I'm going to leave a little border around here so you can see the hummus around here and see that's not just pesto as the base, because you want to see what you're eating. And I think it looks nice. You get a little color contrast going on. It's
Right, you're already getting a very pleasing, aesthetic there.
Yeah.
And what I'd like too is that you can experiment, like you said, you can try a different pesto or a different flavor of hummus, and all of these things are really easy to find.
Exactly. You can make this as involved or as easy as you want. You can go store-bought, you can make your own. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. So once we spread the pesto around, again, leaving a little border, we're going to start sprinkling on the ingredients. I usually start with the bigger ones just because it's easier to sprinkle the little ones on as like a topping.
Now, how did you decide this, for chopping size?
So I tried to keep them all pretty consistent, so that way, you get a little bit of everything in each bite. And it just looks better also to have it be, similar size. So yeah, right now I'm putting some red onion on here. And if you wanted it to be a little less of a bite on it, you can quick pickle it in just a little vinegar and water and sugar. Or use shallot is also a little milder as well. But you just want to kind of spread it out as evenly as possible.
Right, you don't want to have one spot that's missing an ingredient. Everyone wants the perfect bite of the dip.
Yeah, and so the next one we're going to put on here is a little cucumber, which again, I tried to make pretty similar in size to the onion and to the other ingredients. Although, I mean, honestly, the pine nuts are going to be smaller just because they're pine nuts and you're not going to mince everything up into tiny, tiny pieces. But that's okay. General idea is that you want similar sized ingredients.
Kind of like I'm getting like a hummus pizza feel.
Yeah,
right,
it does look like that. Maybe, it satisfies a lot of cravings at once, we'll say.
Okay, what's next?
So now we have some pepperoncini, which are just these, they're these little sweet, kind of spicy peppers. They're not too hot, but they do add a little jolt, which is nice. They're also briny, and I really like them. I'll even eat them whole. I mean, that might be a little bit more adventurous, but they're nice. And they add some bright green color too, which I think is great. And then, some sun-dried tomatoes right here. Just these add kind of candy sweetness. And again, very traditional Mediterranean ingredient.
And it is really beautiful. I love the color palette we got going here.
Exactly. And it's, most of these are also pantry ingredients, which I really like, or ones that can keep in your fridge for a pretty long time. I mean, hummus, I feel like I almost always have hummus in my fridge, as well as other ones.
And you can kind of be as deliberate or quick with this as you want,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's some little extra steps you can take. I try to toast the pine nuts because it makes them a little nuttier. It kind of gets their aroma wafting through your house too if you're having an indoor party. But and like I said, you can buy hummus, you can make it yourself. There's some recipes on POPSUGAR Food. We have quite a few different varieties. Same with the pesto. I mean, this recipe it's a cilantro-based pesto, but you can go with like a classic basil-based one, or really, I mean, tons of different herbs and greens can be made into pesto.
And what's cool about the cheese portion of this is that, of course, you can leave it off if you want to be vegan.
Yeah.
And, you know, really please everybody that possibly shows up, all the palates at the party.
And you could always sub, if you want something else that's briny, you could sub in some capers or olives. Sliced olives would be great too, for a similar idea, but keeping it vegan. So that's an option for sure. And yeah, so we have all of the toppings here except for the olive oil. You can't forget that.
Yeah, if it's gonna be Mediterranean, you're gonna have to get serious about the olive oil.
Yeah, so we're just gonna drizzle this on here, and it adds, you know, just a little gloss and sheen and flavor, of course. So
This looks beautiful.
a little finishing touch, yeah.
Okay.
Here. Want me to get you on for it?
Yes, I am ready to
Here.
dig in.
Make sure you get a little bit of everything. Well, at least most everything.
Okay, here we go. That is really delicious. I would probably be standing by that dish for most of the barbecue.
Not
But what's
too
really
bad.
great is that it's refreshing and feels lighter, and you can kind of feel good about indulging in this, perhaps,
Exactly.
rather than when you completely just like go nuts on the really heavy Mexican version of that.
You know, the first time I made this, I ate about half the platter, and I didn't have
fine.
a stomach ache, so
All right, well,
not
Nicole,
too
this is
bad.
an awesome option for the summer. Thank you so much for coming in today.